When Jamie Powell woke up with a strange feeling in her mouth, she thought she had bitten her tongue during her sleep. But when she went to a doctor to have that small bump examined, she discovered something unthinkable and went through a long recovery journey. In 2019, Jamie was just another incredible mother, raising her two sons and juggling all the responsibilities of work life as a nursery caretaker and wife. Usually, a good night's sleep would resolve most problems and tension. With that in mind, the beautiful mother of 37 years went to bed that night. When she woke up the next morning, she immediately knew there was a strange feeling in her mouth. The left side of her tongue had a bump. She brushed this off as probably having bitten herself in her sleep. It would take a few days for the discomfort to heal. She just had to wait it out. After a few days, though, the bump had not disappeared. In fact, it was starting to hurt more. The fastest way to find out what was wrong was to schedule an appointment with her dentist. Jamie wanted some peace of mind and therefore consulted an expert. The dentist assured her that there was nothing to be concerned about, so she went home with pain medication and a pat on her back. But somehow, she could not shake the feeling that there was something more seriously wrong, and thankfully, she made an appointment with an ear, nose, and throat specialist in the upcoming days. When the expert physician examined Jamie's mouth, he asked her if she was a smoker. Jamie could honestly tell the doctor that she observed a very healthy lifestyle. She had never smoked a day in her life. The doctor performed a thorough exam and sent her home. A few excruciating days would lie ahead while they waited for the results. A week passed, and because Jamie always had a positive mindset, she presumed that no news was good news. She did a little research of her own on the internet and found out that an inflamed taste bud could have a similar effect on the mouth. With optimism, she continued with her busy life, almost forgetting to be anxious, except for the continued discomfort. Then she got the call that would change her life dramatically. On the 2nd of March 2020, Jamie was informed that the small bump on her tongue was an aggressive form of tongue cancer. There was no time to waste. The doctor scheduled emergency surgery for 23 March, where he planned to remove about 2 centimeters of her tongue to get rid of the tumor. One of the first emotions that Jamie experienced was anger. She was angry that although she truly led a healthy lifestyle, she still got cancer. In a sense, it felt like her body betrayed her. The only option was to transform that anger into strength. This whole life-changing event struck Jamie Powell's life during the COVID-19 pandemic. When authorities were in panic to try and stop the spread of this virus, Jamie had to remain in hospital for a week during this time. With all the safety protocols in place, her husband could only drop her off outside the hospital, and she knew she would only see him and the boys again the day that he came to take her home. There were no visitations allowed in the hospitals at that time. For this mother of two, one of the most difficult things was to leave her boys, even when she knew that their father would take good care of them. Emotionally, she had to prepare for a very difficult time ahead. The tongue is such a crucial part of speech, and her vital organ would have to go through extensive rehabilitation to perform its function again if she ever truly regained her ability to speak. Jamie had to face many uncertainties. What made her situation even more difficult was that she had to face much of her journey alone. Even if her family was in full support of her, she could not experience their tangible presence and love, all alone in the hospital. In order to keep her relationship going with her boys, and for her own sanity, Jamie pre-recorded some messages for them. James was only 3 at the time, while Jack was a mere 5 years old. She hoped that she would start speaking again soon after the surgery, but doctors had the obligation to inform her that she might never regain her speech. She had to fight the sadness and fear that were starting to build up on the inside while mustering all her courage to stay strong, even if it was only for the benefit of the boys. The operation procedure was extreme. Doctors had to remove a third of her tongue, along with the lymph nodes on the left side of her jaw. Then her tongue was rebuilt from some skin taken from her leg. For a long time, she had to be fed through a feeding tube. Usually, this prolongs the stay of the patient in the hospital. But Jamie was determined to get home to her husband and boys. Therefore, she devised an excellent plan. When it was feeding time, she asked the nurses to FaceTime her husband so that he could see how feeding was done. In 3 days, doctors and nurses were convinced that she was ready to heal at home. She wasn't able to talk yet, but the love and care of her family would surely contribute towards her speedy recovery. But she wasn't out of the woods just yet. When the doctors originally discovered the cancer, they did not realize that it had infiltrated Jamie's nervous system. To address this problem, 30 rounds of radiation therapy were scheduled. Starting in May of 2020, and proceeding for 6 weeks. She was literally attached to a radiation tube and covered with a mesh mask while radiation was applied every day for 15 minutes. Little did Jamie know at that time that this would be the hardest part of her treatment and recovery process. The radiation that was done on her head and neck caused severe side effects. She suffered from mouth sores. The radiation burned her skin and she almost lost all of her taste. When going through such a life and death type of battle, one often gets to take stock of your dreams, visions, and values. Things that were of importance in the past often became obsolete. There were days when Jamie felt ugly, but then she had to remind herself that she was still alive. She knew she had to fight to have the chance to remain on this earth and spend more time with her husband, her 2 boys, and all the wonderful friends and family she still had. When a person is diagnosed with cancer, it can very often feel like a death sentence. Although thousands of people walk this uncertain road, some fully recover while others lose the battle to this monster disease. Jamie had heard that a positive mindset can go a long way to help with healing, so she had to focus on the day that she would be strong and healthy again, and when she would voice her opinions without hesitation. This brave mom made a remarkable recovery with regard to her speech. Although it was an extremely frustrating process, it only took her a month to start articulating sounds again. She soon progressed from the feeding tube to a liquid diet. She couldn't manipulate food with her tongue yet, but she could now enjoy the taste of smoothies and soup. For the first time in her life, she did not take the little things for granted. Still, it is very stressful for an adult person to learn to speak again. It would take some extensive speech therapy for Jamie to regain the functions of her throat and tendons and be able to speak normally again. For the next 5 months, the office of the speech therapist was like a second home where she was taught to swallow and talk again. Although Jamie was told by doctors that she would always struggle with eating and her speech, she was not about to give up. It was almost unthinkable that she would make a full recovery. Yet this remarkable fighter woman defied all the odds and was healed of her mouth cancer. And she did not stop there. Jamie started sharing her journey with others on Instagram. Initially, the only patients with mouth cancer she could find on social media were older men who had been smokers all their lives. But eventually, she stumbled upon a few women with similar experiences. It was comforting to find out that she wasn't alone and that she'd done nothing wrong. Despite her healthy lifestyle, she got mouth cancer, but it could have happened to anyone. And now, Jamie is on a mission to raise greater awareness on this type of cancer and urges people to look out for warning signs as they may also fall prey to this life-threatening disease. What a brave woman! Did you ever know prior to this video that there was something such as tongue cancer? Do you know of any alternatives to radiation therapy for cancer? And if you had to make a voice recording for loved ones before potentially losing your speech, what would you say? Tell us in the comments. Thank you for watching and see you next time.